Welcome everybody to Haven of Horror. We are back after another hiatus. This one was on me, so we're just gonna jump straight into it. Today we are covering the remake of Friday the 13th. Came out 2009. I cannot believe it has been 12 years, give or take. That
Yeah.
made me feel extremely old. So Doolittle, I just have to ask you: were her tits indeed that stupendous?
Well, he certainly thought so. Yeah, that might be the funniest sex scene I've ever seen in a movie. I think it's so ridiculous. And I typically don't really like sex scenes in movies. I'll just put that out there. Um, but this sex scene was just hilarious. Like I keep laughing every time I see it.
It is really funny, which is a little odd, but we'll get to that.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna rewind. I had to throw that in for our buddy Connor. He talks about that all the time, and I told him I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out to Connor, if you remember, he has been on the show before. But Doolittle, I want to start with the opening credits for once. We don't talk about opening credits too much. We've mentioned it, here and there for the Friday movies, mostly because a lot of those movies that we've covered have used those to kind of set the tone.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, it was part three was this real upbeat 80s pop, synth pop, and we're in for a lighter tone. Whereas four had a darker, you know, score. We're back to business. This one does something completely different, and I think it works because obviously you were never going to reboot and make Pamela Voorhees the killer.
Oh, sure.
People would riot. So I think it is kind of smart in a way to make the opening credits the best part of the original, which is the last 20 minutes condensed down into, 5 minute opening sequence. How did you feel about that?
So I kind of felt like the opening, like the pre-credit sequence or pre-title sequence, like that whole thing. I thought that was perhaps a bit too long. But I do like the actual like opening. Okay, and I don't even like hate the opening like pre-title sequence either. I just think it goes on a bit long and you forget that you haven't gotten to the credits yet. And once you get to the credits, you're like, what? you know? But no, I thought that all worked. I thought that it had like a fun energy to it, which is weird that I said that because that's kind of contradictory to my complaints about the pacing of it. But no, but it had that like punky kind of energy to it that I like from the Friday movies, and yeah, I thought it was a really nice addition to the movie actually, and it gave me appreciation at, like after watching the first Friday movie and kind of going back to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think because obviously, for Jason's story, you need to have Pamela there somehow. So it's nice that we get, a recap of how she died, even though this movie's not about her. And I think in some ways you could say it never really forgets her presence with the main hook of this movie, which is
Mhm.
something I think it improves on from part four. But you're right, there is about a 20-minute pre-title sequence,
Yeah,
which is probably the longest pre-title sequence I think I've ever seen in
yeah,
a movie, especially in a movie like this, which I think would make a wonderful short film all on its own.
I agree.
And that's where we kind of get, a lot of the part two stuff because he doesn't have the mask yet. He's
Mhm.
wearing a sack. My biggest complaint, and this is going to be something that goes throughout the whole movie, this movie is really fucking dark, and at times it is really hard to see what's happening.
Well, and see, it's interesting. I kind of liked that because I was like, oh, like it looks like garbage, you know. But no, you're right. I mean, it gets in the way a little bit when you can't really tell like what's going on, like that. Like there are scenes like that where yeah, I kind of had to rewind at some points because I couldn't figure out what was happening. But like aside from that, like I didn't have too much of an issue with it.
So let me ask you this: the most important thing with these movies is you got to get Jason right.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the remake's incarnate take on Jason?
Hmm. Well, I kind of I mean I kind of I like it. I like the actor they got. He, he's very big. Which is cool. And I remember talking to you one time about it, and you said you were kind of describing it as like they're kind of going back to like the hillbilly setting traps Jason kind of. And I like that. I like that idea quite a bit, and I thought it was kind of fun initially. But it's also like I don't know why they kind of gave like an explanation for how he's able to like teleport in a way in this movie, like the fact that he kind of sets up this whole like system underground. Not really sure if they really needed that. But I mean, I kind of get it because like they're trying to go for the hillbilly Jason thing, you know. Um, so I don't know. He's very mixed. There are like stuff I like. I like how intimidating he is, Um, but I think overall Jason himself, I'm kind of mixed on a little bit, overall.
I also don't like the mass underground tunnel network that he has, because it wipes away some of that mystique of he is a spirit of vengeance, which I guess is kind of fine, because you're going more for the outdoorsman, the trapper. Even though I think it goes a little too far in places, there is just something wrong about seeing Jason wielding a bow and arrow.
Oh, sure.
Um, like I know that in the originals, he just picks up whatever's available to him. But it'd be
Mhm.
like if Jason just started wielding a gun. It would be wrong.
I agree. I mean, I think what helps with the bow and arrow is the fact that you know, I know people who have, you know, practiced like archery and stuff like that, and they've told me that you kind of have to use like every muscle in your body in order to like use those things. And I kind of like that in this because it really illustrates that he is someone who is like really trying to, you know what I mean? Like it shows his strength in like a subtle way, you know,
Mhm.
which is interesting. But I agree. I mean, he should still be someone who gets kind of up close and personal in some fashion. And I guess what it's missing is the kind of theatricality of it, like in
And
that regard.
deception.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the fact that he's like tricking people and stuff like that.
So I like what you said about the actor, and I want to give him a shout out as well, Derek Mears.
He's
Uh,
cool.
he is a very cool guy. I've seen a lot of interviews with him, and he loved doing this. He's a big fan.
Yeah,
He was Swamp Thing in that TV show that lasted a season. I was
which I
super
want to see.
excited to see that. I still gotta get around to it.
I'm a big fan of
Um,
something, so I want to watch that as well. Yeah.
he is also in Hatchet 3, which is really funny because Kane Hodder, who's obviously most famous for playing Jason,
Hmm.
is the monster in that movie. So it's kind of a Jason, square off.
Yeah.
And of course, the best Jason wins, but that's just how it goes.
Hmm.
But I really like his design. He's he's big and not, I don't want to say lanky, but like this is probably the tallest Jason we've had. If not, he's up there. And it's a very minimalistic design. It's very late 2000s, right? Like Dark Knight has come out. We're trying to make everything dark and gritty. And there are scenes in
Hmm.
this movie that are trying to be dark and gritty and grounded. But then you get stuff like the sex scene, which is like, classic Friday the 13th, but that like cheese charm is gone. It feels 2000s instead of 80s. Does that make sense?
Um. Yeah, I can kind of see it. I mean, it's like it's still shot pretty much like I would imagine these Platinum Dune remakes are shot. You know what I mean? Where it's like handheld. It's kind of shitty looking. So I think on that level, it's still consistent visually with the language of the piece. You know, it's going for that very specific. But it's like I don't know. I kind of the way I saw it is it's almost like going from, not that this is that, but it's almost like going from like a dark reboot of Friday the 13th to kind of what like part 4 would look like if it was done in like the late 2000s or something like that, you know? Like just kind
Mhm.
of like adapting those sensibilities to that time sensibilities or whatever. I hope I'm making sense, but that is kind of what that shift feels like. So I can see how it'd be kind of jarring. But I don't know. I didn't have too much of an issue with it because I kind of felt like it was. I mean, that character is consistently kind of ridiculous. The guy who
Uh,
says stupendous, like throughout the
we'll
movie,
get to him because holy shit.
he's just a total penis, basically, throughout this whole movie. He's really funny. You know, so like he's consistent at least, but tonally it's maybe not.
I don't think I have ever met a more irredeemable character in any slasher movie than that guy.
He's such an idiot. Yeah,
And like it feels like that's supposed to be the joke. Like this is the token. Like you were going to hate this character, and we're gonna dial that up from like 50 to 1,000, and that
right.
actor's just really good at it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, I will say though, I wish his death scene had been a little bit more gratuitous.
Sure.
For as much as a dick as he goes out kind of easy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty like quick. Yeah.
But speaking of kills, to rewind again to the pre-title sequence, which is so this movie, I think I've mentioned this before. I don't know if it was on video or not. Is very much just pulling from the first four what it wants to make a cohesive film, even if it's not like high art or anything. But the first 20 minutes are very much pulling from part two, and that is where all the brutalness happens, or at least most of it. That place with the bag kill is insane, and whoever thought that up is a genius because that was brutal.
It's brilliant. I kind of wish it was shot a little bit better. Um, but like honestly, I kind of like how frantic it looks. So in that respect, they did a good job with it. You know, I guess at the end of the day, that's more of like a taste thing because I can understand why they made that choice to make it look like that. You know, but no, it's a great idea. And there, I know I haven't seen this movie, but I know that there is a Friday the 13th movie where like he slams like his sleeping bag like repeatedly on the ground and stuff like that, you know, and is like kind of throwing it around and the person's still in it, and it kind of reminded me of that. It had that kind of vibe to it, you know, where they're kind of thinking about like the camp setting and they're like, oh, like what can Jason do, you know?
Yeah, that is part seven. That is a fan favorite kill. He like zips her up in the sleeping bag and then just slams her against the tree and she's dead.
Oh wow,
It was supposed to be like three or four, but the MPA made them shave it down. But I
sure.
kind of like how it ended up being because that's peak zombie phase Jason. He's so strong, like he just kills her in one hit. Um,
Yeah,
but I could see them referencing that because Jason X also references that, and the Jason X one is also beautifully absurd. Uh,
sure.
he stuffs them both in sleeping bags and then beats one with the other.
Oh my god.
But yeah, this one is very brutal, and I think another smart choice to show that this isn't going to be Jason from the older films. This is a brutal, like almost sadistic in a way. Jason is he sets that bear trap, and so this guy has to watch as his girlfriend is barbecued basically.
Yeah,
Um, and then I love the kind of edit into the opening titles where he's running at the guy with the or at the with bleh. He's running at the girl with the machete, and then just before it slams, title sequence.
yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Um, and then then we meet our true cast of characters, and for the
Mhm.
rest of the movie, there's like they take the one important thing from part three, and then the rest of it might as well just be, oh, we're kind of remaking part four. How do you feel about how he gets his mask in this one versus the original?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I'm not married to how Jason gets his mask, so it wasn't like too terrible, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I like both options or both ways that it happens. This the one in this one makes me laugh a little bit more because it that is when it kind of shifts from, we just watched 5 minutes ago him string up somebody like she's barbecue
Yeah,
to this hillbilly who fucks mannequins.
yeah, that was funny. Well, I mean, that's disgusting of the hill of him, obviously, you know. But
Doolittle's like, hey, I like that.
oh no. But no, I definitely, well, it comes from a different place, right? You know, I mean, yeah. So no, I didn't have too much of an issue with how they did that. I guess if anything, it's like, I guess it's cool that he got to kill that guy in order to get that, you know, like he's killing like a bad person, I guess, something like that.
My only issue with that shot is it's the only shot in the whole movie where Jason is unmasked. Because,
Oh yeah.
typically they do the money shot, like this is our monster makeup, him without the mask. I've seen this movie a good number of times. I still like cannot make heads or tails of his face because the way that scene is lit.
Oh sure, yeah.
But yeah, I like that. I like it well enough. It makes me laugh because there's a hillbilly that fucks mannequins. That's absurd.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then we meet probably the biggest named actor in this movie, Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, who co-stars with Jensen Ackles that we just reviewed, My Bloody Valentine. It's all connected, you see.
Yeah, it's all connected.
And he's playing the hunter. I don't think it's the same name, but it's the same idea of a hunter guy coming to Crystal Lake looking for a sister. And I like that we get a little bit more like there's people that live in Crystal Lake, and like in the remake, it kind of hints that they know about Jason, and he knows about them, and as long as they leave him alone, he'll leave them alone.
Right.
Um, I thought that was a cool idea, and whenever we finally reboot again, I would kind of like to see that where the town kind of knows Jason's there, but it's like just leave him alone.
Well, it almost adds like an urban legend type kind of situation with him, you know?
Yeah, and that's something this movie does well. Between that and we get the in the pre-title sequence, we get the fire camp scene where exposition of what we just saw. But I like that it maintains that like this could kind of be a campfire story, except for the dumb bits with like the mannequin.
Well, oh, what with the mannequin dude?
Well, so the in the pre-title sequence, the characters that are looking for the weed have that moment where they're all around the fire, and you get the familiar campfire story about Jason.
Yeah.
I was just making a joke about how the movie could be a campfire tale, except for stuff like the mannequin guy.
Oh no, I see what you mean. Yeah, he's a strange individual, that mannequin man.
That sounds like a superhero.
The mannequin man.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, how did you feel about Clay, who I guess you could say is our protagonist in this movie?
Yeah, it's like a dual protagonist piece because there's also the girl that like trusts him and stuff like that.
Oh, Danielle Panabaker.
Yeah.
She's had such a weird career, dude.
Oh yeah. What
Well,
else has she
because
been in?
so she was in Sky High,
Oh
and then
right.
she
Right.
and then she was in this, and now she's on The Flash.
Oh really? Oh, I didn't know that.
She's Killer Frost.
Whoa, I did not know that. That's crazy. I haven't seen The Flash. That's probably why I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that her and him are kind of dual protagonists, and and then of course Jason is the antagonist. I think
Yeah.
Jared Padalecki is probably too good for this material, so he makes it better than it should have been.
Yeah. I see what you mean. I've seen him in Supernatural like a little bit, and he's like a pretty good. Was this around the time when it was like super big? Is that why he's in this movie?
And oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's I want to say that's maybe halfway through its run, but it also lasted 15 years. So
Interesting.
because he's in this, and then the following year Jensen is in My Bloody Valentine.
That is really interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder like I wonder if these studios were just like communicating with each other where they're like, we gotta get this person in, you know? It's interesting.
it is interesting because typically even with these remakes, you don't often see TV stars for big TV shows in them. Um, at least not often. Like, and not the main characters. Like even Sarah Michelle Gellar, at the height of Buffy, was basically a glorified extra in like Scream 2.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, but
So
he's pretty good in this movie though. I like that actor.
yeah, I do at some point want to go back through Supernatural, but then I realize it's 15 seasons. I'm like, fuck me.
Oh, that's crazy.
So then we kind of figure out, they do give it kind of an emotional arc or anchor. We find out that Jason has taken the girl alive, which goes back to part two because he thinks she looks like Pamela. And I think that works to a certain degree,
Right.
but I also think it also makes Jason look worse that he didn't figure it out for there. She was missing for what, a few months?
Yeah.
Although Jason is notoriously stupid, so maybe that works.
Yeah.
In his underground mine shaft that he somehow made connect to the entire camp, which also has no campers. This is one of the only Friday movies that takes place at camp, where it has nothing to do with the fact that it takes place at camp. Now that I
Yeah.
think about it,
The movie kind of forgets about that. They focus a lot more on them like living at, you know, this like rich dude's like
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting. Um it's very strange. But that's kind of taking from part 4 kind of a thing, you know.
yeah. So I had this thought while I was watching it beforehand because I literally just finished it like an hour
Oh
ago.
yeah.
Do you believe that Travis, the rich guy, is friends with those two stoners? Like in real life,
Um
would they be friends?
yes, because I would imagine that he would like maybe use them to get drugs, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my understanding of it. I can see that happening.
And I have to give like kudos to those two actors. I think that they're the best out of the supporting cast, minus the two leads.
Yeah, the one stoner that goes into the like garage area to pick up the thing. I think he goes in to get beer, right? Like he's the dude that
Is
gets
it the
killed.
Asian guy?
Yeah, no, that guy is hilarious. I think he's my favorite cast member in the whole movie. He's really funny.
He goes to get tools to fix that thing he broke
Oh, that's right.
because Travis invited all these people over and then freaks out when they act like people in his house.
Yeah, and yeah, and well, what I love about him going there to get the tools. No, yeah, it's coming back to me. Is he's like bickering? He's like being like he's like, like he's like, oh, this dude, like I think that stuff is hilarious.
Yeah, and he gets probably I think one of the most brutal deaths in the movie too. Like that screwdriver just slowly being forced into his throat. Damn.
That's crazy.
um My favorite thing though with Travis that because we have to keep like cementing the fact that he's an asshole
Yeah,
is he gets mad at Danielle Panabaker's character's name for hanging out with Clay all day and accuses her of cheating on him while he's been in there banging stupendous tits lady.
yeah.
Like, dude,
Not,
really?
not yeah, no, he's just a total jerk, basically.
And I have to give them kudos for being consistent with it. Where even when shit starts to get real and like Jason's kind of laid a bait with the other stoner guy, and like the lights have gone off, he's still a dick. He doesn't change. He
Yeah,
may die, but he's gonna be a dick.
he does not he does not take that opportunity for change. He stays a dick all the way through, which is pretty crazy.
It was a bold choice of him to still remain a dick.
Yeah, he took a big risk, and he died being who he is.
And I
Never
will
lost his
say,
identity.
even though I
Pardon?
don't love his death scene, it is kind of funny that the tow truck driver just like drives off with his corpse, never to be seen again.
Yeah. No, that's totally fitting.
Were you surprised when Daniel Panabaker's character dies?
Um, yes, I was. I did not expect that. I was trying to remember because these cast names, I don't really know them very well. But yeah,
Okay,
I was not expecting that.
I can't remember her character's name.
Nah, for sure. Yeah. Well,
That's one of the other offenders of being too dark. Because the first few times I saw this, I did not realize she died because I couldn't see because they're like coming out of that bus and then he just like runs the machete through her, and it's really hard to see and it's so fast.
yeah,
Then we're down to the siblings, which is another interesting choice. And I that's also I think kind of pulling from the Friday Four. Not the final two are very rarely
siblings.
siblings
Yeah,
because
that is a rare thing to find in like movies like this.
yeah, because I remember when I first saw this, and I'll tell the story here a little bit for the video, but this was my most embarrassing theater experience.
Oh wow.
Um, but when I saw this in theaters, it's like, okay, I know the formula. Jared Padalecki and Daniel Panabaker are gonna survive, and they're gonna be like a couple, and then jump scare. And I was at least right about the jump scare because they try really hard to create the typical Friday in jump scare, but I don't think it makes any sense or is
Yeah.
effective as a jump scare.
Oh yeah, because
Um,
none of them are like make much sense. No, no, no,
yeah,
that's not even. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's true actually. Yeah.
only the first one, and I mean even then, it's like I don't still don't quite understand how Jason was in that lake, but whatever.
Hmm.
So I was not 17 yet when this movie came out. I wouldn't turn 17 until September, so I had to have someone go with me to see this, right? And I didn't have any friends that wanted to go or anything. So my poor grandma got volunteered to go take me to see this.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, there will be some sex scenes, but it'll probably be tame like the older movies. Nope. I was sitting in my chair like she's gonna kill me. So
That's
my
crazy.
poor grandma has seen this movie and sat through the stupendous tits scene.
Oh my god. I can't imagine my grandma doing that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was awkward. Well,
Yeah.
Doolittle, I think we've covered. Oh, the last thing we need to cover is Jason's death in this movie. I like the final showdown with him for the most part, but I think it does go on a little too long. How
Yeah.
did you feel about how they take him out with the wood chipper?
It was pretty. So my thing with it is it was a bit like too final, for if they wanted to continue it. But like for what it was pretty effective. I mean, that's a very painful way to go out.
Mm.
Um,
So I'm
but yeah,
curious then, with you saying it feels final, because I kind of agree, but is it any more final than, like, say his death in part three when he gets an axe to the head, or is it just the tone of the movie makes it harder to believe that he could come back from that?
I think it's the tone. I think that's the main kind of difference with it, right?
That's kind of what I was leaning towards. But then we get the jump scare at the end, because you remember jump scares.
Yeah.
Well, Doolittle, we are out of time, but I'm gonna give this a 3.5. It's kind of in the middle of the Friday as a 13th as a franchise. I think it's better than some of the sequels, but not as good as some of the others. But if I was gonna just show somebody like the pure unadulterated Friday the 13th experience, it would probably be this or Part Four.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5, I think. Because I agree. It's not I don't think it is the best of what I've seen. I still think that that's 4. Um
Yeah.
but like it gets the job done pretty well. And I think if anything, it's not a bad introduction to Friday the 13th. I don't think. So that's a pretty
Okay.
good it's pretty good, let's put it this way. It was my first Friday the 13th movie, I think. And after seeing the first 4 afterwards, I can say that like it was a fun time.
Mhm. Well, and I think what's important, it makes it better than most of the other Platinum Dune remakes, is it understands the spirit of the original and sticks to that for the most part.
Yeah, you can't really say that about a lot of the other Platinum Dune remakes.
Yeah. Although I will stand by their Texas Chainsaw remake. It's not anything revolutionary, but it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Uh, well, Doolittle, we made it through the first four plus the remake. How do you feel?
I feel like I'm actually really happy I got to see those because it's kind of weird that I never got to. But it's good that I did finally.
Yeah, and some point in the future, obviously, we will come back to these. This is my favorite horror franchise, but I want to give poor Doolittle's brain a little break. And it is his turn to pick. So, Doolittle, do you have anything in mind for our next video?
Hmm. I'm trying to think. I can message you about it later.
Okay, no
I'm not,
worries.
I'm not, I'm not sure at the moment, but I think that we will figure something out.
Put the Jeopardy music in right here in post production and everything. Uh, all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you liked this video, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And we do have a Patreon now. The link will be in the description below. And we will see you guys next time.
All right, take care.
See you.